friends, are you avoiding seed oils because you heard they cause inflammation, high blood sugars, and insulin resistance? So what's creamy to eat instead? Well, I thought about 10 delicious replacements to share, and in the end, I'll give you a list of the worst oils and fats for your health just in case you still want to use them. So number one is the avocado. Did you know that there are over 500 varieties of avocados worldwide? But you probably only see a few varieties in the market. The most popular is Hass avocados. That's because they're super creamy. Avocados are great when you want to make ice cream, smoothies, sauces, or my favorite way to eat them is just chunky on sushi or tacos. Now, once a week in my house, we have one night that's sushi night and one night that's taco night. And I basically cut up and prepare all different kinds of vegetables and protein for my family to assemble on their own. So it's build your own taco or sushi. And when I run out of ripe avocados, well, the meals just don't taste the same. I have a friend who lives in Hawaii and her yard was loaded with avocados hanging on this tree. And they were huge. They were probably like 6 to 8 inches big in length. And she said that they were the most buttery tasting avocados, but I wouldn't know because I never got to try one. It never ripened. And I even looked up how to ripen an avocado just in case I got it wrong. So it's supposed to ripen within a couple days if you put it in a brown paper bag with a ripened banana or apple. And I did that and nothing happened. Supposedly the ethylene gas from the riper fruit will speed up the ripening of the avocado. I don't know, maybe the bananas didn't give enough gas out. Now, you can also shorten your ripening time if you leave it out in room temperature. Well, I left it out at Hawaiian room temperature with a super ripe banana and nothing happened in a week. Well, I had to catch my plane, and I couldn't bring any produce back. When I was 5, I stared fearfully at my mom eating an avocado. I really believed it was going to poison her. She literally just cut it open, sprinkled some salt and pepper, and scooped it in her mouth and ate it like that. She offered me some, but I didn't have the courage to eat it. And I didn't give it a try until several months later. Now it is one of my most favorite foods to eat, savory. And don't confuse avocado oils with avocados, because when you eat an avocado, you also get antioxidants such as carotenoids, including lutein, zeaxanthin, and beta-carotene, which are all critical to protect your eyes, especially if you're concerned about macular degeneration. In fact, you literally have lutein and zeaxanthin in your macula and lens. And beta-carotene, well, that gets converted to an essential vitamin, vitamin A, that is critical for cell repair and immunity. And if you don't have adequate amount of vitamin A, you have dry eyes and difficulty with night vision. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, so there is an upper limit of tolerance or you can get severely toxic. And of course, like with all my videos, this isn't medical advice. So if you have any questions about anything that you watch on my videos, please make sure you write a list and take it to your own personal medical doctor. And when you eat food, you are either giving your body the equipment to repair or you aren't. You don't get all these things in avocado oil. Eating a whole avocado will also give you a ton of fiber. 1/3 of an avocado has 6.7 grams of fiber, both soluble and insoluble, to help you feed your gut microbiome and propel you to have a good bowel movement. 9 out of 10 people watching YouTube are deficient in dietary fiber. And unlike fat-soluble vitamins where there is an upper limit of tolerance, you really can go to town with all natural fibers. Now, this is very different than eating a fiber supplement. I'm talking about actual food that contains fiber. Fiberful foods are really a part of the ancient diet all over the world by so many great ancient civilizations. And one of the greatest ancient civilizations was the Roman Empire that shaped everything from government to law to language to infrastructure and culture. Oh, and religion. Many of our modern U.S. laws are based on Roman law principles such as property rights, contracts, and due process. Concepts like republicanism, separation of powers, and elected representation can all be traced back to the Roman Republic, which also influenced the U.S. Constitution as well as other democratic systems around the world. The spread of Christianity under the Roman Empire led it to become the dominant religion in the Western world, shaping history, ethics, and global events. Now, the Romans were one of the first to build roads, aqueducts, sewer systems, and public buildings. And a few years ago, I had the privilege of visiting the ancient city of Pompeii. It's so sad that they were frozen in time by a volcanic eruption that occurred in 79 AD that buried the entire city. However, the volcanic ash preserved the whole city, the people, the animals, and their food. They were sophisticated eaters and ate lots of grains, fruits, nuts, olives, lentils, local fish, and chicken eggs. And the people of Pompeii were super smart and master engineers. They literally had irrigation to bring running water. They had a sewer system away from their homes, and they even could heat water to form saunas. Now, it is estimated that ancient Rome ate about 100 grams of fiber a day. But of course, just like modern society, people with different socioeconomic status ate slightly different foods. And there are lots of good things about the ancient Roman Empire, but there are also lots of bad things about ancient Rome. I mean, Romans literally crucified Jesus and enslaved so many people to make them fight as gladiators. I got to visit the Roman Colosseum. Now, gladiators were really strong people, and guess what they ate? Wheat, barley, and beans. In fact, they're known as Barley Men. And literally, they've analyzed the bones and poop of gladiators to figure out what kind of food they were eating. Not only does this show proof what they were eating was mostly plants, but this also shows us proof that you literally are what you eat. Because if they can find plants in gladiator bones, then you better bet the foods you eat also remodel your bone. Too many people think that fiber comes in the bottle. And you could do that, but you would be missing out on other essential nutrients like potassium. Avocados have more potassium than bananas. Potassium is important to regulate your blood pressure, your muscles, and your heartbeat. Literally, the absence of potassium can make your heart stop beating. And in addition, avocados are a healthy source of tocopherols, which are a variety of vitamin E. Did you know that there are 8 different forms of vitamin E? Vitamin E is divided into 2 groups, tocopherols and tocotrienols. Together, they make up 8 different types of vitamin E. Now, when you go and buy a supplement, let's see, I have a supplement here, you're really only getting alpha tocopherol, which happens to be the cheapest to synthesize, but it is also the most biologically active in humans. But you'd be missing out on the 7 other vitamin E forms. There is also beta tocopherol, gamma tocopherol, and delta tocopherol, which are all abundant in regular foods like nuts and seeds. But it turns out that gamma tocopherol found in nuts and seeds actually have stronger anti-inflammatory properties than alpha tocopherol. There are also 4 tocotrienols, alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. When you eat whole foods, you actually get a variety of tocopherols and tocotrienols, unlike taking a supplement. And every food has different ratios of these different forms of vitamin E. Avocados are moderately high in alpha tocopherol and low in gamma tocopherol and very low in tocotrienols. Now, I know some people like to take supplements. I take supplements too, but vitamin E is one of those supplements that I refuse to take, especially when combined with beta carotene. Seems to elevate mortality. Sometimes it's just not good to take too much of stuff. And if you think about it, vitamin E in supplement form is really not natural. It only has alpha tocopherol. And high-dose vitamin E really has been linked to increased heart failure and all-cause mortality. And the studies done with vitamin E and beta-carotene, well, they are in patients with lung cancer who already have a high mortality. We don't need to push them over the cliff. High doses have been shown to increase oxidative stress and is considered to be a pro-oxidant and may interfere with apoptosis of damaged cells. Now, vitamin E is still an essential vitamin. Hence, I get my vitamin E from the foods that I eat. And I try to eat a variety of foods with a variety of different monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. Now, number 2 is walnut butter. Have you ever made it? Walnut is my favorite nut because it is one of the highest sources of omega-3 fatty acids. All you gotta do is put walnuts in a blender and grind it up and it will turn buttery. In America, we have a nutritional deficiency of omega-3 fats. So any opportunity I get, I try to eat omega-3 fats. And just 2 tablespoons of walnuts has 13 grams of omega-3 fats. In addition, walnuts are also a very healthy source of monounsaturated fats, fiber, and vitamin E. In fact, walnuts are the best source of gamma tocopherol when it comes to nuts and seeds. And that's the stuff you're not going to get in a typical vitamin E supplement. Remember, gamma tocopherol is considered to be more anti-inflammatory than alpha tocopherol. So if you're used to baking with oil, you can actually replace it with nut butters. Or you can use your nut butter, this walnut butter, to replace sauces and dressings. Now remember, nut butters are very high in calories. So if you're trying to lose weight, they may not be the best source of food. you would do better just eating the whole nut. Because when you eat the whole nut, you probably only absorb 60% of the calories because you still have to break it apart. But if you do all the work before you put it in your mouth, hence grinding and pureeing them before you actually eat them and you do it yourself with your own digestion, you'll actually lose a chance to lose more calories.
Hi friends, I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
So if you're concerned with your weight, then it's better to avoid nut butters, especially if you're eating carbohydrates, because then nut butters or any fats or oils will actually spike your sugar higher when you eat carbs. Now, the reason why you don't want to eat fat and carbs together is because the body can't metabolize both of them together. And they've worked out these studies a long time ago. They actually put normal, healthy people into 4 separate groups to feed them 4 separate diets. Actually, one didn't get to eat anything. One group fasted, one group ate a high-fat diet, one group ate a high-protein diet, and one group ate a high-carb diet. And a lot of that was also refined carbs. Now, guess who had the highest blood sugars when they then challenged them with a carbohydrate tolerance test? Well, it was actually the people who were fasting or on a high-fat diet. And this is because when you eat high-fat meals, well, your insulin receptors are downgraded, meaning there are less. I mean, why would your body need insulin receptors when you're predominantly eating fat, right? So it doesn't want to spend energy doing both. And hence, fat is a signaling molecule. It signals that you have an abundance of energy so that you don't need to process sugar. But if you're eating all that sugar, then you're going to have a difficulty processing it because you just lost the pathway to process that blood sugar. It gets pretty complex, but the bottom line is if you want to have good blood sugar levels, then it's super important to keep your fat low. Number 3 is one of my favorite ways to eat seeds, and that is tahini or sesame paste. And this is the ingredient that you need to make famous Mediterranean hummus. It is delicious. And when you don't have it, it just doesn't taste the same. And what you do is you get a can of chickpeas, unflavored, unsalted, you rinse and drain it. Then you put it in a blender with 2 tablespoons of tahini, within 2 cups of cilantro, a piece of jalapeno pepper, the juice of a quarter of a lemon, and 2 cloves of roasted garlic, 2 tablespoons of onion powder, and you'll have yourself a great cilantro hummus. If you have the bandwidth, all you gotta do is grind up roasted sesame seeds, and you can make tahini yourself. This creamy and delicious hummus is a great dressing for salads, dips for veggies, spreads for sandwiches, and it can be a great addition to any sauce for your favorite savory dish. By the way, did you know that sesame seeds have been shown to reduce arthritis pain? Number 4 is my new favorite food, flax seeds. And you can take flaxseed meal or just ground up fresh flax seeds and turn it into a delicious cookie. I make this cookie with flax seeds for my son every weekend when he comes home. Basically, I put a bunch of anti-inflammatory ingredients, everything that I can think of under the sun that he won't eat on his own. And I use flax seeds because I don't want to use egg for a variety of reasons, but also because it's actually quite expensive these days. And if you have any experience baking, you know that you always need a binder if you're trying to stick like loose things together. And flax seeds are a great binder. But because it gets a creamy texture when you combine it with water, it can add creaminess and softness instead of oil to any baking product. The neat thing about flax seeds, besides its cooking chemistries, is that it's high in omega-3 fatty acids. Oh, and it has fiber and lignans. Flax seeds actually reduce oxylipin, an inflammatory molecule that also causes high blood pressure. In 4 weeks, flax seeds can reduce the oxylipin numbers to really help reduce blood pressure. There's a trick to using flaxseed in your cookies to make them soft. You first have to pre-soak the flaxseed. Grind it up before you soak them, and then you let it sit around for about 5 minutes. Usually around that time, it starts forming a gelatinous mixture. The longer it sits, the more gelatinous it gets. And then you can just fold in dry ingredients. It's almost like egg whites, like whipped egg whites. But it's really flavorless. So I add all different kinds of fruits. If you want a really fragrant flavor, then try adding freeze-dried berries. So I make myself freeze-dried berry cookies. Actually, I make my son freeze-dried berry cookies every weekend. And of course, if it's not sweet enough, you can add some dates to that mixture. And if you're going to go to a party, You may want to try a freeze-dried raspberry flaxseed truffle that I made. Basically, I did what I just told you, took the flaxseed meal, soaked it in water, add some berry powder to taste and some dates to taste, and then I froze that. After you freeze it, you can actually shape it and then put it in dark chocolate. Take it out and you've got yourself a delicious raspberry truffle. Now, number 5 is chia seeds. I actually used to use chia seeds because they are smaller, so I didn't have to grind them up as much. But both chia seeds and flax seeds have an outer coat of this soluble fiber that when you soak it, it turns gelatinous. And if you get that gel to form first, then you can fold in other ingredients. And you can use chia seeds like you can use flax seeds as an egg substitute or an oil substitute. But remember, they're seeds, so they're going to be high in protein and high in fiber. Chia seeds are actually my go-to over-the-counter nutritious pooper helper. And it works so much better than anything that you can buy over-the-counter or that I can write by prescription. And that's because when it comes to pooping, there's nothing better than whole food. Oh, and hydration. So if you eat it dry, you'll just get plugged up. So you have to make sure that whenever you eat flaxseed or chia seed, that you're drinking enough water. Otherwise, these seeds will get stuck in your colon. An ounce of chia seeds are high in polyunsaturated fats, especially omega-3 fatty acids. They're also a rich source of potassium, magnesium, and calcium. Now, number 6 is America's favorite fruit, bananas. Have you ever tried frozen bananas just like this? I would take the peel off, otherwise you're going to have a difficult time. And I love to mash bananas because they are creamy. And then you don't have to add any sugar because they're already sweet. Sometimes I'll just take this banana, of course, peel it, mash it, and then fold in oats and nuts and even dry fruit and then bake it. And when you dry it up, it has a chewier texture. But my most favorite way is to eat my bananas frozen. If you cut these up into slices, you can dip them into chocolate. But I usually don't do that because I don't want to gain more weight. So I'll just dip this into cocoa powder that's not sweetened and has no added fat. Now, banana just satisfies my sweet tooth and taste buds because it's sweet, it's creamy, it's actually low calorie, it's high in fiber, and it helps me avoid saturated fat. Number 7 is peanut butter. I really never liked peanuts as a kid, but my dad loved them. He ate a ton of peanuts with skins. Peanuts are pretty creamy because half of it is made out of fat, specifically monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. It also has a unique ingredient called Palmitoylethanolamide, which is a fatty acid amide. It's actually been studied for its anti-inflammatory and pain-relieving properties. And guess what? Your body actually makes PEA, which is an endogenous lipid mediator that interacts with the endocannabinoid system and other cellular pathways. PEA activates PPAR alpha, peroxisome proliferator activated receptor alpha. What a mouthful. This reduces inflammation and pain signaling. PEA modulates mast cells and microglia to lower chronic pain and neuroinflammation. It enhances anandamide action, which boosts natural pain relieving and mood enhancing effects. There are lots of conditions where PEA may help, which include chronic pain syndromes such as neuropathic pain and myalgia, inflammatory pain such as arthritis and back pain, neurodegenerative conditions such as multiple sclerosis, and post-surgical pain. And all this you can get more of by eating whole peanuts. They actually sell PEA as a supplement, or you can just eat plants with peanuts. As an anecdotal side note, my dad had spinal surgery because of a pretty bad spinal fracture that he got from having 0 vitamin D levels. So he basically had osteomalacia, a form of adult rickets. But what was amazing to me was that post-surgery, he didn't require any pain meds. He didn't take pain meds before surgery either. He didn't even want Tylenol or Motrin. He just got up and started walking the day after surgery. And I've always wondered if it was because of his diet. He loved peanuts and he ate it every day. I actually like PEA because it has anti-influenza activity. In fact, PEA was studied and used in Europe as an immune modulating compound to help reduce flu symptoms and rheumatic fever. In America, it was on sale as Impulsin, and clinical trials show that it could reduce flu symptoms and the symptoms from other acute respiratory diseases. Number 8 is unsweetened applesauce, which adds moisture to your favorite baked muffins and cakes. Now, keep in mind that the nutritional benefit of applesauce is not like apples. I see a lot of parents giving their children applesauce thinking that they're giving them apples, but you aren't. They aren't equivalent. First of all, applesauce doesn't have the peel. And the number one most nutritious part of the apple is the apple peel. The peel is concentrated in phytonutrients like quercetin, a strong antioxidant with anti-inflammatory, mood-boosting, immune-modulating properties. It's a flavonoid that reduces oxidative stress by neutralizing free radicals to protect cells from damage. Quercetin also inhibits inflammatory pathways like NF-kappa B, COX-2, to reduce chronic inflammation linked to aging and disease. Studies show that quercetin enhances germ-fighting activity against the flu, and quercetin also boosts your immune function by supporting white blood cell activity. And in addition, it may reduce the severity of seasonal allergies by stabilizing mast cells and lowering histamine release. Now, number 9 is pumpkin puree, which is a great substitute for oil in baking, soups, and sauces. That orange color means it's high in beta-carotene, which, remember, is a precursor to an essential vitamin, vitamin A. In addition, pumpkin puree is a great source of fiber and antioxidants. Now, don't throw away those pumpkin seeds. They are super nutritious. They are high in protein, fiber, magnesium, and chlorophyll. And it's super important if you want to have healthy hair. Pumpkin seeds contain several compounds that promote stronger, healthier hair. Some people even use pumpkin seed oil because it's rich in phytosterols, which may block dihydrotestosterone, a hormone linked to hair loss. So some studies suggest that pumpkin seed oil supplementation can improve hair thickness and count in individuals with androgenic alopecia. Now, to grow tissue and hair, you need an adequate amount of zinc, which is essential for really growth of anything, but especially your hair follicle, as well as the health of your scalp. And zinc deficiency is linked to bad skin and hair shedding. And guess what? Pumpkin seeds are rich in zinc. Now, I mentioned it's full of protein like amino acids, including arginine and cysteine. They are key for keratin production, the protein that makes up your hair. And in addition, it's a good source of non-heme iron, which is needed to make hemoglobin, the molecule that delivers oxygen to hair follicles, as well as to prevent hair follicles from thinning due to iron deficiency anemia. Now, in case you didn't know, not all anemia is due to iron deficiency. So if you're anemic, it's important to see your own medical doctor to figure out why. Number 10 is cooked and mashed sweet potatoes, which are much easier to cook with than white potatoes. Now, when you add sweet potatoes, it adds moisture and creaminess to sauces and baked goods. And in fact, you can use sweet potatoes to bake flourless cakes and muffins. And by using sweet potatoes, you can avoid harmful chemicals like table sugars and sugar substitutes. And plus, you'll get the benefits of the phytochemicals such as the anthocyanins and beta-carotene. Sweet potatoes also have a variety of fibers. It literally is a longevity food eaten by the Okinawans. Now, when my mom was a kid, she actually had periods of starvation, and she would tell me stories about how she survived just by eating dried sweet potatoes. If you are going to use sweet potatoes as a main ingredient in a baked good, make sure that you cook it first. Otherwise, it won't have the creamy texture that you're going to expect. And by the way, sweet potatoes make a killer sweet potato ice cream. Now, I promised that I would talk about some different fats and oils just in case you need to use some. Now, if you're trying to lose weight, it's important that you keep all fats and oils, regardless of the type, low if you're going to eat carbohydrates. So this means that drowning olive oil in your salad isn't healthy. It's not going to help you lose weight. Or eating deep fried foods in avocado oil, or baking traditional muffins and cakes with a bunch of oils and fats, they all will help you gain weight faster. Because when you're simply eating processed food, oil is a processed food, you will tend to eat more calories. Oils and fats are just super concentrated and super dense in calories. So this means that if you eat nut butters, it will be more caloric too. Definitely more than sweet potatoes, which has less fat. So this is why I avoid too much added fats, added oils, or nut butter, simply because I just eat the whole food. I'd rather make my system work to burn off some of those calories. And you may wonder why you need to keep your fat low, because I'm sure you've heard of people doing fine and looking great online, eating high-fat diets. Well, looking great is very different than actually being healthy. And I know lots of people who look great on the outside until they're not. That's because how you look is not necessarily an accurate reflection of how healthy you are inside, because people are looking at superficial parameters as opposed to medical parameters. And then they put a bunch of makeup on. In the social media world, there is a misguided view of health. And many people think they're healthy because they're skinny, they're active, until they get a cancer diagnosis or a first heart attack. So eating the wrong fats literally will increase your risk of both cancer and heart disease. Number one, if you get overweight, especially obese, you just increase your risk of so many different types of cancers. And we are having an epidemic of young people getting cancer. And these cancers are generally diagnosed late and are super aggressive. Obesity causes chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, hormone imbalances, and metabolic dysfunction. And your own excessive fat tissue produces inflammatory cytokines, promotes insulin-like growth factor 1 signaling, and increases estrogen, all of which fuel tumor growth. Heart disease, that's caused by a number of factors, with the most prevalent being blood flow. And poor blood flow increases the work of your heart because it's literally your only pump to get blood circulating all over your body. In addition, your heart also needs blood flow. And when it doesn't get its own adequate amount of blood flow, then your heart tissue can literally fall apart. And the most prevalent blood flow disease is called atherosclerosis. You have atherosclerosis and so do I. So it's imperative that we slow down this disease that starts as early as 7 years old with fatty streaks. The problem with fat is that you have to transport it from your gut to the organ that needs the fat. So fat just free floating in your bloodstream doesn't actually help your blood flow. You see, your blood vessels, they're lined with immune cells. They're like highway patrol waiting to catch that speeder, the guy who doesn't belong on the road, or they're reconstructing the road like Caltrans. And your white blood cells, they're always looking out for like germs or foreign invaders to get them out the road, or they're repairing things that are damaged. So if you have blood vessels that are damaged, you're supposed to be there to repair it. But just like Caltrans or when a policeman pulls somebody over, there's going to be a little congestion because they're blocking traffic. Well, you have macrophages in your blood vessels that live in the arterial walls. They're kind of the highway patrol and Caltrans at the same time. They mean well, but when they become active, they block traffic. And guess what causes them to become active? Saturated fat. So macrophages, they gobble up saturated fat, which they can't get rid of. So their bellies are full of fat, which then weighs them down. And then they can't do their jobs. So they always call for backup. They're sending SOS signals. And that just causes more immune cells to come that then causes a traffic jam. And when you have a traffic jam in your blood vessel, it's not like they can pull over to the side and not block your blood flow. Now, in addition, this traffic jam area in your blood flow starts collecting calcium because the macrophage, along with your smooth muscle cells that's in your blood vessels, they start acting like bone-forming cells called osteoblasts, and they begin to express proteins involved in bone mineralization, such as alkaline phosphatase and osteopontin. This then starts a plaque to form. So plaques are kind of like little bone fragments that are abnormally shaping your blood vessels. And of course, that little tiny bone can become a boulder in your blood vessel to block blood flow. And this is also why you don't want to eat calcium supplements because they have been shown to worsen plaque. And you get plaques in your heart arteries, well, you basically will get a heart attack. So here's a list of cooking oils that I think are best ranked by saturated fat and smoke point. And it's important to cook below the smoke point so that you don't change the chemistry of the oil. That's because when the oil is heated past the smoke point, it begins to break down and oxidize, and this leads to formation of more harmful products like acrolein. Your food may also taste unpleasantly bitter. Now, overheating oil can also create free radicals, unstable molecules that can damage your cells, contribute to more inflammation in your body, more oxidative stress, and increase chronic diseases like heart disease and cancer. Acrolein is a known irritant to the eyes, throat, and lung, and it may also have some long-term health risks if consumed in large amounts. You also make polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, especially when your oils are rich in polyunsaturated fats. That's why it's important to avoid reusing oil. Reused oil that has been heated to high temperatures can degrade further, forming more harmful compounds. Now notice that the oils on my list are low in saturated fat. And do you know the difference between saturated fat and unsaturated fats? Which one do you think is healthier? Watch the next video to find out.